Welcome to my video. Most of you have probably heard of astrology or at least been influenced by it in some form. Perhaps you like to read your daily horoscope, or you may find a website that will tell you what fortunes you will receive based on when you were born. This all comes from astrology. Astrology is an ancient science that existed in the time of ancient Greece and Rome, and even as far back as ancient Babylon. In a basic sense, it studies the positions of the planets, what sign or star constellation they are in at a specific time, and then gives you an interpretation of how that affects you. In a more true sense, astrology is such a vast and complicated subject that it can't possibly be described in one or two sentences or even one or two paragraphs. Some people may ask, does it work? And that would depend on what they mean by does it work. Perhaps a better way to explain it is to ask the questions, will it give you insight as to why certain aspects about yourself are the way they are? And it will. Can you use it to help others as well as yourself to have a better, more fulfilling life? You can. Does that mean that if you have a certain planetary placement that is really good, that you will become rich and famous? Probably not. By learning astrology, you will have the tools you need to take charge of your own life and understand why you are the way you are. There are several types of astrology. The three that come to mind are Western astrology, Vedic astrology, and Chinese astrology. Vedic astrology is the astrology from India. In this video, we are going to cover Western astrology. And for those of you that live in the Western world, that is where I would recommend starting at. Don't limit yourself to that, but I would recommend starting with Western astrology. For a moment, we need to look at two types of astrology, Western and Vedic. We need to compare the two zodiacs. This is one key difference between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. Vedic astrology uses the sidereal zodiac, and Western astrology uses the tropical zodiac. And let me give you an example from a program called Stellarium. Okay. Now, you'll notice that you can see a little bit of Pisces down here. Then you have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and you'll also notice that the date is May 10th. So, if you look here, the sun, it's in Aries, but it's getting close to Taurus. And this is the physical constellations. This is the sidereal zodiac, the physical constellations. This is what Vedic astrology uses. So in Vedic astrology, this is where the sun is. In Western astrology, which uses the tropical zodiac, the constellations or the zodiac will start at the spring equinox, or the March equinox. Spring equinox in the northern hemisphere and fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. the March equinox, basically. So Aries all the way through Pisces, you start at the March equinox with Aries and go all the way around to Pisces, and then it starts over again. That is how the tropical zodiac works. So really, on the tropical zodiac, instead of the sun being right here, it would probably be right in here. It will be in Taurus, getting close to Gemini. This is May 10th, so probably right in here somewhere. Now, also, whenever we work with astrology, it is based off of, normally, we work off from a natal chart or birth chart. And to give you an idea of what one of those looks like, here is an example chart that I got from Astro.com. I simply entered some information. This is not my birth chart. This is just some information I entered, and this is what it gave me. Astro.com is where this came from. Here's the circle. This is how Western astrology works. It has the circle on your birth chart, and for those of you who have not seen this kind of a thing before, you're probably thinking, what does all this mean? How does this work? And in this video, I want to basically explain to you what most of this means. At least most of this. And that way, whenever you look at a natal chart, you'll be able to make sense out of what you're looking at. So, again, if you would like to get your own chart, you can go to astro.com. There's also other sites online that you can enter your birth information into, and that would include your birth location, your birth date, and your birth time. Now, you can get some information without your birth time, but you really do need your birth time, and preferably to the nearest minute or two, because a lot can change in just a few minutes. So basically, in this video, it's basically just going to be a crash course in basic astrology and how to read your astrological natal chart. So let's get started.